So just as a brief introduction for those who may not know what ISO 9001 is, it is a management system standard. And when you say it's a management system standard, it is basically a document that has been issued for global application. It is a document that is used across all industries. And it is issued by an organization called International Organization for Standardization. So it's not a Kenyan standard per se. It has been adopted in Kenya. It is adopted in very many other countries, but it is a universal standard on quality management system standard. So the numbering of ISO 9001 is just an identification. It's a way of the organization uses to number the standards. You see the colon after the number after the colon, the 2015. When you say ISO 9001, that's the identity of the standard. 2015 is the year it was issued. So the last issue or the last revision was in 2015. And we are in 2026. So later in the year, we expect a new revision of the standard. And as I mentioned, I'll be mentioning one or two things about that towards the end of the webinar. It was first issued in 1987. That's the first issue. Over time, it has been revised. And those revisions, as you can see, 1987 was the first version. 1994 went to 2000. 2008, and with each revision, the document is being improved or being changed to adopt to various needs in the global arena, the different organizations. How do we address quality in different as times improve? You see, as things change. So the fundamental principles you'll find the main body of knowledge is more or less the same. It's more or less the same. But there'll be changes here and there, and those changes have been captured over time in those revisions. So currently, 2015 is the fifth revision. So we expect the sixth edition later in the year. Now, as a standard, ISO uses, it is in a group of standards that we call management systems standards. So these are standards that address management systems. So for ISO 9001, it addresses quality. So it's a quality management system standard. Just like 14001 is the environmental management system standard. So there are quite a number of management system standards. So this particular one, ISO 9001, uses the process approach. And when we talk of a process, we mean where we are using inputs, or there are various inputs. They could be physical inputs, they could be non-tangible inputs. And then we do something, or there are certain activities that are carried out, and then we produce something, an output. That's basically, in general, what we would call a process approach. So the input could be something like a requirement of a customer. Think of a carpenter, a fundi, a carpenter, somebody who is making sofa sets somewhere in Nairobi's Outer Ring Road. What does the customer want? The customer will come up with requirements. Those are inputs. I want this color, I want this design, I want, the various needs that the customer has. And of course, besides the customer, there will be other interested parties who will also give their own requirements. And a very important interested party is the government. So the government will have its own requirements, and requirements like licensing. You must be licensed. Like for the county government, you must be having I-tax for tax purposes. Suppliers will also have their requirements. For example, we are supplying, but we need to be paid by this date. So those inputs are the ones that are used, various activities, and then produce outputs. So the output could be physical, could be a product like the sofa set I've just talked about, but it could also be a service. Think of a plumber, for example, who has come to repair something in your office or in your workplace or in your house. So that plumber is a business person and is looking at your requirements. And the requirements could be in terms of the sizes of your pipes, the kind of water tank you may want, and finally the product, maybe the repair, the service that is provided such that the water that was leaking is no longer leaking. So process approach is something that is basically applicable in very many areas. And if you think about it, even in whatever you do, you will come to appreciate that there is a process. There's a process. Inputs, then certain activities, and then we have output. So ISO uses that approach. And you'll come to appreciate that as I continue in terms of the requirements, how the process approach has been inbuilt into the requirements of the ISO 9001. There is also something called a PDCA cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, which is more or less like a summary of the whole standard, if you can call it that, a high-level summary. That means the standard requires that you plan your management system. You plan the way of doing things. You plan your processes. What kind of interested parties do you have? What kind of policies will you have? What kind of risks are you exposed to in your business? What kind of opportunities can you pursue? So planning is very critical. And you know what they say about planning, that if you don't plan, you are planning to fail. So planning is very important before you do anything, before you conduct any activities, before you take any action. Taking time to plan is very important. And this is very important in our businesses, and especially the culture that has over time been applied in Kenya. Many people we talk of, we are hustling to survive too. If you're running a business and you have not invested some time in planning that business, in thinking about the business, what will I be doing? Why am I choosing this product? If I have started a supermarket, for example, which is the best location? Should I open another branch, or am I just reacting just because I've seen other supermarkets are growing, therefore I'm opening another branch? If I've started a salon, this is a salon, what kind of customers should I serve? What kind of services should I provide? Should I mix together with a barber shop such that I'm addressing both the men and women? You see, those kind of questions are basically what goes into the planning for a business. And then you implement those plans. You carry out the activities, the actions that are along as per plan. And we usually say things don't always go as per plan. So that means you have to keep checking. And that's why you need the check. Plan, do, check. You monitor. Monitor is basically to check the status. How am I doing? How many customers have I served? What feedback are the customers giving about my services, about my products? Can I introduce a different product to serve a different part of the market in terms of the types of customers? If, for example, it's a salon and I open between 9 and 6, is there a group of customers that I'm losing? Probably I'm closing too early. Can I be able to extend my hours and accommodate another group of people, maybe people who are very busy during the day? So those are the checks. And based on whatever findings, whatever feedback you get from the market, based on the checking, then prove. That is the overall summary of ISO 9001 in terms of how it approaches quality. So it is, as I said, is a document, and is a small, relatively small document, less than 30 pages document. But good to emphasize that it's a generic document. Generic meaning it can be applied in any organization. It's not restricted for Kenya. It's not restricted for a certain type of a business. It's not restricted for small or multinationals. So it is a document that is spelling out requirements for quality. Now, this is basically what I'm presenting there, the slide now. This, what we call clauses, is like the contents. It's like the table of contents of that document. It has 10 clauses. And these 10 clauses, they will be further, they'll be, you can consider them like chapters. So within each clause, there'll be sub-clauses. For example, if it's clause 4, there'll be clause 4.1. Then you go to 4.2, 4.3, 4.4. You'll even have an extension, 4.41, 4.42, like that. And then with each clause or sub-clause, there will be requirements. It will give requirements on quality. So these clauses that have been highlighted or in bold, they have been put in bold, clause 4 to 10. They basically form the main body of the standard. This is where the requirements are. The context of the organization, you need to look at the context. That's where you're operating from, who are the interested parties, what kind of regulations are you under, what kind of services will you provide, the context, what are you, if, for example, you are located in Mombasa, it's different from somebody who is, say, located in the rural areas, somewhere in the Muranga. The context is different. The interested parties are different. Then leadership, planning. What kind of things should you plan? The risks, the opportunities you should be planning, changes. Clause 7 is about support systems that you should have. And support systems are, things like, for example, how are you going to measure quality? For example, if you are selling, if it's a butchery and you are selling meat, you need a weighing scale so that you can determine this is the weight, this is a kg, this is half a kg. What kind of documentation are you going to have? Are you going to have, for example, a computer system, a point of sale system? How will you record? Are you going to have, a manual register? Are you going to keep books? Are you going to issue? You see those kind of things, that the support system, basically the infrastructure that you are going to have, the kind of people you need to employ, what kind of qualifications do they need to have? And then how are you going to operate the management system? So The customer will walk in like this. The customer will be served here. You know, if it's a restaurant, how many, you know, the menu, how will the menu be? How the food will be prepared should be ready by this time. You know, these quantities. You know, for the food to come out precisely the way you'd want. And the hospitality industry, those who are in the hospitality industry know how sensitive such things are. That today I've walked in and I've taken my favorite nyama choma and I'm very happy about it. That means the quality part is good as per my expectations as a customer. But then come next week, I come. My expectation, my requirements as I walk in is to be served the same way I was served last week. That means the way the waiter approaches me, the way the meat will taste is exactly the same. That's the expectation I have. And of course, you can think about it. If it is goat meat, my favorite choma, it's a different goat that has been slaughtered. It's not the same. But my expectations as a customer is exactly the same. So how do you arrange yourself as a business, as a restaurant, to make sure that those expectations are met every time? And that's what ISO 9001 tries to focus on. And of course, you keep evaluating the management system. Is it working right? How is the customer feedback? Are there mistakes that we made? How can we learn from those mistakes? And then we improve. This is basically a summary of what ISO 9001 is all about. Now, when the new version comes out, these clauses will not change. And it's good I mentioned that so that you may be wondering, why are we discussing this if a new one is coming in September? No. These clauses will remain the same because of the structure used by the International Organization for Standardization. This is the standard structure, and it applies across all management system standards. So the few things that will change, I'll be mentioning them later, but this is basically the overall approach. And the principles, you'll find the similarity with the principles. The principles basically are the tenets on which these requirements are based. So we will say, for example, focus on the customer is important. We'll say leadership is important in every organization. The quality of leadership is very critical. We always complain about leadership in politics, and we forget about the quality of leadership in our businesses. How good are you as a leader? If you are the founder of your organization, have you improved yourself as a leader? And of course, I mentioned the process approach about inputs, activities, and outputs. And then improvement. Improvement is very key. Improvement every other time. Improvement. You learn from the mistakes that you made. You learn from the feedback. You do better. The Japanese culture is especially very strong on this. I'm sure you may have heard of Kaizen. The Japanese work a lot on these lines, trying to improve every other time. And then engagement of people, ensuring that people are valued, people are empowered to provide the services, to produce the products. And then you make decisions based on evidence. You are measuring, for example, you are able to say the customer is happy. That means you have assessed the customer. You know that the customer is happy based on the actual evidence that you have collected. And then you manage the relationships between the various interested parties. As I said, there are different interested parties like the government, the customer, the suppliers, the staff, the owners of the businesses, even the general public. If, for example, the example I gave of a shop or a carpenter who is producing sofa sets, how do they dispose of their waste? Are they throwing waste by the roadside, by the pathway where people are passing? Those are the issues that one needs to look at. And when you say principles, we are basically saying this is the foundation. This is the foundation along or where the requirements of ISO 9001 are based. Now, how does it enhance quality? When we say ISO 9001 as a standard enhances quality, it's a quality management system standard, yes, but how does it enhance quality? First, consistency. Because we want to standardize, we want to give, like the example of the restaurant I've given, the consistency in making me come every other time. Every other time. And if you are to take time and assess yourself, even your lifestyle, the place you frequent, somewhere you go, a supermarket, a butcher, a shop, a restaurant, wherever you pay a visit in terms of getting a service, it is because of the way you've been treated before. And that consistency is what is driving you. Even the products we consume today, as you walk along the aisles in the supermarket and you pick toothpaste, it's probably because of the consistency of that toothpaste that has made you over time to be going for the same. The soap that you pick from the shelves is because the aroma that comes with it, the smoothness, the size, the packaging, everything. And that consistency is very critical. And this is a big mistake that we make as small businesses, where something is good today, tomorrow is not good. The customer is served today in a restaurant, is very happy. Tomorrow they come with the same expectation and they are very disappointed. The food is overcooked. The food is undercooked. The waiter is not even addressing them or serving them as they sit. They are rude today. Tomorrow they are smiling. You see, those kind of inconsistencies is what we can work to avoid when we implement a management system based on quality or based on the ISO 9001 quality management system standard. Of course, efficiency in terms of the inputs and outputs. Efficiency in terms of what raw materials are we using to produce what we are producing, the inputs. If it's a restaurant, the raw materials will be the raw things that you maybe buy from Komba, from Marikiti, from wherever. The food items you are buying, how do you assess them? If you are preparing chips, for example, the French fries, how do you ensure that the quality of potatoes is the same? And it's good to mention some of these examples so that people appreciate. Some time back, I remember it was in the press, and I mentioned KFC because it's something that was in the public domain. There was a time KFC said that, I don't know what they do nowadays, but there was a time they said that they were importing potatoes. I remember the public uproar, the social media. How can they be importing potatoes? We have all these potatoes from Nyandarua, from Narok, from wherever. Why would you see? But then you find for a restaurant chain like KFC, the quality of chips that it produces is what makes our children to be very, very interested in the KFC. That consistency. So the quality of potatoes and how they are transformed finally to be the plate of chips or the package of chips that you take away is very, very important. So it's not just an initial potatoes. And this is something that as a small and medium business, we need to invest in a lot. The reliability that comes with it, the monitoring. If you are taking chicken, and I not, and it's good to disclose that I've not been paid by KFC to market them. But you'll find the piece of chicken you'll get today, it tastes the same as the one you get tomorrow. So, but how come when I start my own restaurant and I start serving chicken, the customer is complaining hii chicken ni ngumu sana. Hii kuku kwani mmepika aje leo? You see, those are issues of quality. Kwa nini inakaa namna gani? Even from the look, it's different. Kwa nini mmeweka spices na huwa hamwekangi? You know, those kind of issues is basically an issue of consistency. So we need to ask ourselves, how do we plan our way of doing things? What kind of mechanisms have we put in place to ensure that we have that consistency throughout, the reliability that comes with it, what makes the customer come back every time? The risks that go into a business as we operate, what can go wrong? How do we make sure we have put in place certain mechanisms or a certain way of addressing those risks as we go along? In terms of efficiency and in terms of efficiency and service delivery, the standard, the 10 clauses that that I mentioned, we are expected to have, at the planning point, we set up exactly how things will work. And it ought to be very good planning in terms of how it will be every other time. And we are usually very casual in our way of doing things, in what we call jua kali, and we say, unajua hii ni jua kali, and that kind of even makes mediocrity to be acceptable. Unajua hii ni jua kali, hapa ni kwa ground. Those kind of terms that we use kind of to justify or to rationalize mediocrity. They pulled us down as businesses. So we need to ensure that we have the clear criteria of our processes, how things should be done. And then we document, take time to document, and train the team. And if you think about it, still back to the example of the restaurant. If, for example, you have a waiter today, and because the business is growing, tomorrow you decide, no, this waiter or this number of waiters are not enough, I need to add a few more. The experience that the old, if I may use that term, the old waiters have, the new ones don't have. So you must be having a mechanism to train, a way to train the new team so that they understand it the same way as the team that was there. So that at the point of service, they are serving the same way. But if you get your niece or your nephew from the village or from another corner of the country, and you say, The guy finished college, is looking for a job. Kuja ushikirie. The kind of terms we use. And that kushikiria, the guy has no idea. You have not taken time to train. And training, I don't mean taking somebody to university or college. Sitting with that person and training that person on what you've already predetermined. You've already determined the processes. This is a bar or a pub. Customers, when they walk in, you should be able to serve them within a few minutes. You should be able, by the time the client is sitting, you should be able to guide the client to sit. This is how you say hi. This is how you ask them for what they need. This is how you record the order. You take it and write it somewhere in your order notebook. This is how you go and make the order so that you finally bring the drinks or the food that they want. You see, that is training of the team. And then you map those processes. You plan and agree that with your team that customers, because if, for example, is a bar and a restaurant, probably during the day, it was having lunch and a lot of food items. But it's a Friday or it's a Saturday, and there are a lot of customers who are probably interested in drinks. How do you transit? How do you transit? Probably you have more customers on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. How do you transit to ensure that you have enough manpower to serve those clients? Just like on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you see. And then, of course, you keep improving, you keep getting feedback. Now, ISO, in terms of getting the feedback, the benefits, they'll come as you can expect in terms of the trust that works, the quality has improved, efficiency streamlined, the reputation that comes with this brand. When you go there, you are served well, you are served fast, they attend to you well. When they produce a product, is good quality, even from the supermarkets, this type of unga is high quality. Why? Because behind it, a sequence of steps have been invested in to ensure that consistency in the quality. So we are able to, by being ISO 9001 certified, we are able to enter into different markets because of that strength of the brand. And when you are ISO 9001 certified, that in itself gives you a bigger name, and you'll be able to interact with bigger institutions. Because let's face it, nobody wants to be failed just because you are claiming to be a Juakari. If it's the government and the government wants school desks, or they are in the process of building these affordable houses, they want a lot of windows. So they want a supplier who will supply good quality products. So for you to have that reputation, being ISO certified gives you that edge. International market opportunities. As I said, ISO is a global standard. A global standard. So it is known globally. It's not just restricted to the Kenyan market. You can be able to access other markets. And suppliers will have their way of qualifying who meets the requirements or not. And you'll find in very many tenders, people will be asked, do you have any certification, any form of certification? Do you have ISO 9001 or another standard that you can be able to demonstrate? So that trust, I don't want to overemphasize the issue of trust that comes with reliability. And That brand, as I said, is what makes you make those decisions every other time. And because customers are satisfied, that's why they return, and it builds over time. And that trust comes because of the overall framework. And in terms of what we can cover today is very minimal based on what the ISO 9001 has. It's a lot that comes with it. But what happens when you have limited resources? What happens? You may be having limited resources. What happens? What do we do? First, let me just, before I go, because I want to show you how you achieve ISO 9001, the steps that happen for you to get to ISO certification. First, you need to invest in understanding the requirements. A webinar like today is the first step. But then you need to do more than what we are able to cover today. That means you need to invest in understanding the requirements. As I've said, is a standard. You need to understand that document. And for us as consultants, we work to ensure that you are understanding, you and your team are fully understanding those requirements. There is the issue of documentation of the quality management system. And when you use the word system, remember, we are not saying software or anything. We are saying the whole mechanism, the whole arrangement, the policies, the procedures, the way you have determined the steps. Even if you have a computer software, how does it interact with the people who are there? How does it interact with the manual systems and all those things? Then you need to train your team. Train your team so that they understand all those requirements. They understand how you have arranged your things in the business, in the quality management system, how you have arranged it. Every member of the team needs to be reading from the same script. They need to understand what is required of them. And then you obtain certification from a recognized certification body. A certification body, I'll be explaining about it in a minute. And then you maintain the certification. Once you have been certified under ISO 9001, that's not the end. You have to ensure that you continue to meet those requirements. And those requirements, it's checked. It's checked every year through what is called a surveillance audit, that you continue to deserve to be certified. After you are certified, that means you have to be checked every other time. What have you done in the last 1 year? Now, this is like a summary of the whole implementation process of ISO 9001. And it's good that we put in questions. I know the time is short, and I would want to address those questions as much as possible as we go along, and maybe towards the end, the Q&A session. So if you look at, we have put 3 columns there, the one activity, then the client, that is you as a business person, and then for us as consultants at Valuemax. And you can see, first you need awareness. You need the ISO awareness. Like I've said, today is the first step. So Valuemax will work with you, provide that awareness, and that means you have to participate, you have to learn yourself, you and your team. It's not just you as one person, it's a whole organization as a team. And first, because it's a management system standard, the most important people to understand the requirements are the managers, the people who make decisions. They may not be carrying those titles of managers, but the people making decisions at high level are the most important people in terms of understanding. Then we do what is called gap analysis. Gap analysis is basically to say, if it is your organization X, it's the organization X that is running this business. How far are you from meeting the requirements? Because the requirements are there. We are asking ourselves, how wide is the gap between what is required and what you have? So again, Valuemax will work with you on that. Then management commitment. This one is a big issue. You can always say verbally that you are very committed, but can you demonstrate that commitment? Are you investing time? If there is a whole day meeting, are you able to plan and sacrifice a full day to think about your business? So that you are not ever in a firefighting mode. You must be ready to sacrifice some time to plan tomorrow, today. You don't just do things haphazardly. So investing time, resources, in training, the client must invest in that. That is very important. Otherwise, the whole process will not make sense. And then, of course, you come up with the quality management system. You define the quality management system. And this is like the huge bit. I can tell you number 3 and 4, they carry almost 90% of the whole process. The commitment and the planning, determining the quality management system, how it works. To ensure that we build the capacity, to ensure that we determine how the management system will work and document. And then on a day-to-day basis, we implement. There will be things called quality audits, internal quality audits. Those are required. Something called management review. That means you are reviewing the management system periodically. You can carry out mock audits to prepare yourself. And then number 9, you get to certification audit. You are being audited to confirm that your system has met the requirements. Remember the gap I mentioned under number 2, that there is a gap assessment. How far are you? So by the time you are doing the certification audit, we are assuming we have closed the gap between what was required and what is there. So that means we have now narrowed it down, and is near zero. They have fully met the requirements. The auditors are coming in to check that. So for us, we work with the reputable certification bodies, and the certification body follow a certain approach, which we may not be able to cover here. And they have, you always need, when you are talking of a reputable certification body, always look for whether that body is accredited to the International Accreditation Forum. International Accreditation Forum is something you can note and check, so that anytime you are interacting with a certification body, you are asking yourself, is this a recognized certification body? Then once you pass the process, then you get certified. And of course, as I said, you maintain the certification. Now, as I wind up, because time is so much gone, let me mention a few things about what is coming up in 2026, ISO 9001. We expect it to be released in September. It's currently a draft, and this is in public domain. You can check on it. Something you can just find out. It's in final stages. A draft is circulation. The International Organization for Standardization uses a certain process, a very clear process on how to change standard. So there is a lot of participation, a lot of, some committees, certain steps to be followed. And they issue drafts, and those drafts are commented on and all that. And based on what has been commented, the kind of changes we expect, a lot to do with climate change and sustainability, that will come out in terms of requirements, the context that is in clause 4, if you remember the 10 clauses. And the 10 clauses will remain. The format I mentioned is used for all management system standards. The 10 clauses will remain. And I'm sure you have heard about the sustainability, issues of social governance, environmental ESG, so the environmental social governance, matters. They kind of creeping into every organization, and the ISO standard may not use ESG as as a term per se, but it is basically going to give requirements that you need to improve on your environment. You need to improve about the social, the value you're adding in the society, the issues of governance, the ethical behavior that comes, and the culture you have built. So leadership, which is under clause 5, will also come out strongly in terms of the leadership that should spearhead good ethical behavior in the organization and the good quality culture. You may have heard of, culture, its strategy for breakfast, and those terms. When you have a good culture, a good quality culture, then you are likely to be more successful as an organization. And then it will also be clearer on opportunity, risk-based thinking, separating risks and opportunity-based approaches, which are in clause 6. Those are some of the changes that we expect to come in. In Valuemax, we'll be working a lot with our clients and our prospective clients to ensure that they are well updated when new standards are issued. And we are also going to invest a lot in ensuring that our teams, our consultants understand those requirements, and they can be able to work together with our clients. So that one is coming. It's expected to be released later in September this year. Good. We'll have a few minutes to respond to questions, comments. But basically what we're asking is, are your processes delivering your mission? You as a business owner, you as a person running a business, you started that small business. You are selling shoes, it's a restaurant, it's a butchery, it's a salon, you are a fundi, plumber, electrician, you are in business. You are a software company, but what you intended, have you arranged your processes so that they deliver exactly what you intended? That is the core question. And you need to be very sincere with yourself so that you can be able to deliver exactly as you promised your clients, or as you intended, so that consistency can be built. And because it has been built, then customers can come and your business can grow. I'll pause there for now and request John to guide us if there are any questions. I've been glancing at the chat and I've not seen a question, but I could have missed. So John, karibu sana.
Thank you, Daniel, for that amazing session. It's been very informative. Kindly, if you have a question or comment, you can raise your hand or leave it on the chat. As well, after we shall have a poll that you guys can interact with and give us your feedback on the session. So be on the lookout for that. So I welcome the floor to any question. There's a question on the chat, Daniel, from Stella, saying in the expected ISO 901-2026, will it be direct or an automatic upgrade to already existing certificate holders, or what are the requirements?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Stella, for that. And I think if I probably know Stella as from one of our clients, I could be wrong, but thank you, Stella, for that. That's a very important question that you've asked. And organizations that are already ISO certified, you don't have to worry. There is a transition period of 3 years. 3 years. That means if the standard is released on time in September, you'll have up to September 2029 to transit. Up to 2029 to transit 3 years. Use the word transition. You transit to the new standard, to the new version of the standard. That will mean understanding what are the requirements in the new standard, the new version that has been released, and then making the changes in your quality management system, making the changes that are necessary to meet those requirements. If, for example, as I've said, the issues of the part of ESG is important. The environmental requirements, if they are already there, we need to ask ourselves, are we meeting those requirements? So we build capacity, we document whatever needs to be documented for that, and then we meet the requirements, and we have that period of 3 years to transit. If you are not ISO certified and you are starting, it's good to start right away with the new version. But the new version the requirements will be checked at the certification audit point. So if today we are in April and you decide to embark on the process, there are some things you can do between now and even September or even beyond that will help you to achieve ISO 9001 and even 2026 version as it comes out. So it is not that you have to wait until it is out so that you can be able to get to the standard. I hope I've addressed that question sufficiently.
There is Fred who has raised his hand. So Fred, you can ask your question.
Thank you very much for the presentation and what has taken place. We appreciate. And now my question, I've got 2 areas that I would need to understand more. The first one is that Fred is my name from Disability Products Limited, and we are certified under ISO 9001 2015. And we happen to change the location where we are. Now the question is, 1, we are having all the information that we had put across onto, let's say, the labels communicating. How best that one can be done? We changed the location. And then secondly, we have seen about this ISO 9001 2015. Has the new version come in place and it's effective? Thank you.
Thank you. I missed, sorry, on the name.
Fred
sorry?
Fred is my name.
Okay.
And I come from Disability Products. We do manufacture skin, hair, and personal care products.
Okay. You are based in Kampala?
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe the first. Thank you very much for your question. The part about the location, if you are in a different location, ISO 9001 is also has, there is what we call the scope of the quality management system. The scope. That means the boundaries of the quality management system. And the boundaries will be both virtual and physical, if I can use those terms. If, for example, you are a manufacturing entity, then physically it is important where you are doing things, your processes. You could be using tools, equipment, machinery. So the physical location becomes important, and if you are ISO certified, it is also restricted. The scope is restricted to that particular location. But you can change the scope. There is no worry. You can change the scope. And then you ensure that the new location meets the requirements as given. It meets the requirements as required by the standard. So you will at the revision. The best point of revision is when you are undertaking the surveillance audit, so that the surveillance audit includes the new location, so that when the auditors are checking, they are checking to confirm that the new location continues to meet the requirements. It's usually not a very big issue for organizations that are, say, for example, based virtually. You have an office, but you have an online platform. So the physical location may not be a big issue. But if you are manufacturing, then certainly the physical location becomes very critical, and the auditor or the consultant will guide you in terms of meeting those requirements, and then you include them when you have the surveillance audit. The surveillance audit comes annually. The other bit is about the question about the new version. So as I said, the new version is expected in September. It's not yet released. It's very important you understand that. So when it is released, it's only when you can say now it is final. The one that I said has been released is ISO 14001, which was released on 16th April. It is no longer now ISO, the new version that is ISO 14001 2026. But ISO 9001, which is the one we were discussing today on quality, it is expected to be released in September this year. And from then you'll have the 3 years that I said will be the transition period. And that is adequate time, in my experience, for the clients who are already certified to meet all those requirements. Yes. I hope that works well for that question.
Thank you very much for the answers.
Okay. Welcome.
We have another question on the chat from Wamaida Ndiritu. Of what is the approximate timeline to get the certification?
Yes. Now, I can see my colleague has already responded that it's like approximately 60 days. But it's good I give a caveat here that it's usually very much client independent. Remember the gap I mentioned, how wide the gap is, how commitment you are. If, for example, we have to train your team, and we'll spend a day training, and we have agreed is tomorrow. Are they coming tomorrow? Are you going to postpone to next week? Those kind of dynamics come into play. But when we are interacting with the clients, a standard 2-3 months is works. but we have also had clients who go even beyond 1 year. So it's also good we be very clear on that. But what we do is when we are the contracting point, we come up with a work plan. And a work plan that is already agreed with the client that we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And based on that work plan, you will be able to, you can be able to assess, we can even be able to adjust if some things come up. But ideally, 2-3 months works for small organizations. Also, the size of the organization, there are some organizations that are geographically, spread, like, you have multiple branches, it's quite a complicated institution. It takes longer. But the most important bit is the commitment that I said of the management. That becomes very critical. Any other question, comment that we can discuss?
There's another question, but I've seen your colleague has also answered, which was Christine Ruben. How much ideally would it cost for the entire process from start to end, just to ensure we budget well as an SME?
Oh, yes. Yes, it very much depends on I think my colleague they have given the precise answer in terms of, depends on the size of the institution and how complex it is, the functions, the operations. There are big institutions, there are small institutions, and what we'll do, we'll interact with you and we'll give you a proposal. We will not charge you for the proposal if we are to interact. So feel free to engage us if you are interested. What we'll do is first to understand your organization, what you do, the kind of team you have, and then those kind of things. And then based on that, we'll give you a proposal. And that proposal will you need to assess it. We can sit and discuss it and agree on the best way forward. Good. Do we have any other question?
No. So
yeah. Again, I'll put my hand up.
Yes.
There's something that again I would need to understand. When we are having that ISO and we are trying to communicate externally to the users anyway, to the users of our products. We've been having a challenge, I may say a gap, between different auditors auditing out different systems. I may give an example. You find that regulators, sometimes when they come and they see the label the way it is, communicating that the company is ISO certified, you find that they normally say that they don't audit that system, so should not be appearing onto the label. What's your take? Or what do you think could be the best?
Sorry, there's a word I missed. It does not appear what?
I mean, take an example. ISO company design is certified under the system of ISO 9001:2015. So when I'm putting it onto the label, let's say company certified ISO 9001:2015. But we've been getting, and it's onto the label, we've been getting in regulators when they come also to assess the label and other systems.
Oh, the labels.
Yeah, the label itself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They normally say that they don't certify the system. So in most cases, we've been advised not to put on such information. I'm asking, what's
Good.
the current situation? Thank
Okay.
you.
I get. It's good that that question has come up. The standard ISO 9001 is a management system standard, and is very important that we get this clarification. It's not a product standard. It's not a product standard. In Kenya, product standards are given by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. In Uganda, you have the Uganda standards. It's called standards what?
UNBS.
Yes. The product standard is give the composition of the product. If, for example, it's milk, if you are producing yogurt, for example, there is a science that goes into the yogurt, in terms of, the content, the minerals that it ought to have, the water percentage, the cultures that are acceptable, that are not acceptable. If you are packaging food and you are putting food color, which food colors are acceptable, which ones are not, preservatives, which the science that goes into it, and that is specified in the product standard, which is usually a legal issue. Is a standard, is a legal, and that's why if you are starting the manufacturing process, you need to clear with the Kenya Bureau of Standards, Uganda Standards Board. Every country has its own, and the standard, the product standard is different from a management system standard. So when you put on the label, you will find that the certification body will tell you, don't put our logo on the label. Why? They look at the management systems as a whole, the quality management system as a whole. It is not a test on the bottle, the product. We have not taken the product and taken it to the lab to assess, the kind of mineral content. If it's water bottling, for example, the impurities, the mineral percentages that are acceptable, that is what is done by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, Uganda Standards Bureau, all that. And that is a product standard. And it's very important that we make that distinction, because ISO 9001, the overall arrangement of the institution as a whole, the organization as a whole, is not restricted to testing a specific product. But then, when we are looking at the management system, we are asking you, have you met the requirements of KEBS? If, for example, you are a manufacturer, have you assessed the requirements or have you understood the requirements that you are subject to? If it's a restaurant, it ought to meet the requirements of the county government on public health. Then you need to make sure that you meet those requirements. If you are manufacturing milk, there is a Kenya Dairy Board. I'm sure in Uganda you also have a similar organization to regulate the milk industry. You see, so whoever is licensing your kind of organization is what you need to predetermine from the word go, so that you have clear requirements and you know them, and you have planned on how to ensure you meet them consistently. Good. Good. Any I can see Stella is saying, is it possible to send us some of the additional information in details of the draft copy to prepare ourselves since the change is coming? Yes, we are starting a program and I mean based on whatever is coming up transition. We in Valuemax we are coming up with a program to guide our clients and prospective clients to be informing them, and so Stella, be assured that we will be updating you further on the changes when they come up, and we'll basically be in touch. Of course, our clients will of course be on board because we have to keep informing them. We have to ensure that we are they are the first to benefit in terms of the updates that come up. But of course, we'll be going to the market and ensuring that we keep that informed. I mean, the market informed, so that we can also get even prospective customers on board, and probably they can also give us business. Unless there is something else.
There is, I think, Wamaivan Dirito is asking again, is there an organization that accredits Valuemax to do the ISO certification?
Now, I said we work with the certification bodies, and it's very important also to ensure that we are clear of that. Valuemax is not a certification body. So Valuemax is a consulting company that will guide you to implement. What we do is we have developed partners, like we work with a US partner called Accurate Global. That's one example of our partner. It's a certification body and recognized globally. You can check on them. Accurate Global. It's a certification body that meets the requirements of the International Accreditation Forum. So in ourselves as Valuemax, we are not a certification body. But when we are getting a client, at the contracting point is very clear. This is a certification body that we are working with. We also have clients who have their own certification bodies. Like, for example, we can guide them to implement, and then they can call in their own certification bodies to come and audit them. Remember, the certification body is coming to confirm that you have met the requirements, and then they issue the certificate. So Valuemax does not issue the certification, the ISO certification certificate for the organization. For us, we guide in the implementation process. Then our partners, the certification bodies, will issue the certificate. That's why I said it's good to ensure that you work with recognized certification bodies, and we are very transparent on this. We don't try to pull a client that you must use this certification body. No. The issues of the cost, but the advantage we have is by working with our partners at the contracting point, we can be able to sign a contract that is you pay one fee, and because of paying one fee, then we manage the process end to end. We document everything, and then we liaise with our partners based on what we have agreed with them, how we are supposed to do audits if we are carrying out audits, how we are required to document audits. There is quite some paperwork that we do, and then once you meet all the requirements, some clients will not meet the requirements, but we have to work with them to ensure that we guide them through in terms of meeting those requirements. Then they are finally issued with a certificate to say they are ISO 9001 certified. Good. I'd be happy to respond to any other question, comment that
there are a
that
few comments
comes.
on the chat.
Sorry?
There are a few comments on the chat. They're thanking you for your insights and your guidance and
Thank you.
the preparation requirements for the ISO 9001-2026.
Thank you.
Guys, we shall be launching a poll to gather your feedback on your experience of this webinar, so be on the lookout for that. We thank you, Daniel, for your insights. You have opened our eyes. And yeah, wish everyone a good rest of their day. And always reach out to Valuemax. They shall always be ready to help you and guide you accordingly.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure, and I really appreciate the feedback. Keep interacting with us. I'll put our contacts online. Get in touch. Something that you may want us to clarify, we can be able to clarify further. If you want us to give you a quote, we'll be ready and interact with you to understand you, and then we give you a proposal. As I said, we don't charge for that. So thank you very much, and see you some other time. Thank you.